How's it going, people? Right, so today's video is another VR, and this is a VR to Yorkshire Man 66, and he's asking your top 10 favourite racing games. There's a lot of community challenges going out at the moment. There's some really good ones out there, and it's actually getting quite hard to keep up with it. But I do enjoy doing a VR, so and I'm hoping you guys do too. You know, people are watching it, so they must do. It's a good way of bringing the community together and also finding out more about each other as well, what your likes and dislikes are, and your points of view on things. I do really enjoy doing these. So when I saw Yorkshire Man 66's video, I thought, oh, I want to get in on this. He did tag a few channels. We weren't one of them, but I thought, well, this is an interesting topic. I would like to get involved in this. So yeah, so like I say, he asked your top 10 favourite racing games. So I'm not doing them in any particular order, but I've picked out a selection, and there are a few different systems they're on. So what I'm going to do is you'll see a little bit of box art come up as I'm talking about the games. I did think of putting some gameplay in, but because it's 10 games, I thought that would be a bit too much. So yeah, I'm just going to show you the box art up in the corner, and then I'll just talk about each game. Right, so like I say, not in any particular order. I've just jotted them down. Right, so first one I've picked is Pure on the Xbox 360. Now, this is a good game, and you would have heard me talk about this on the channel before. In fact, we did a stream quite some time ago, and I played this with the boys. And my eldest boy, Kyle in particular, he really enjoyed this game. And I'll be honest, I enjoyed it too. So this is a quad racing game. The good thing about this game also is that you can do tricks and that as well while you're jumping. You know, you can sort of like handstand on the handlebars, things like that. And you get a certain amount of points for doing things like that. But also there's an element of obviously racing as well. And because it's quads, it's off-road, it's quite challenging. But it's done in a fun way. It's done like an arcade game. And I always like the arcade style races. I like I've said before, and I said in a video recently, I prefer the arcade style because it's all very like the sound effects, the graphics, the whole way that it's put together just makes it more fun. It's not too serious, because there are some other games I've mentioned in here that are a little bit more serious in terms of things you've got to do. Whereas with Pure, it's just fun. And it's one of them games, like I said in a recent video about some other games I was talking about, it's one of them ones where you can just turn your brain off for a bit and just play, and have fun. And it's just something you can pick up for half an hour and just get on with it. It's not massively complicated, just good fun. So yeah, so that's Pure. Right, then we got Project Gotham Racing 4 on the Xbox 360. Now, interestingly enough, this game was mentioned recently on Essex Retro Gamers channel. He's recently got hold of it and he was playing it. And this is a good game. It's a good looking game. Considering it's an Xbox 360, it still holds up very well. It's fun to play. It's a little bit more challenging, a little bit more serious. But again, a game that you can pretty much just pick up and play. It's not massively complicated, but it is quite challenging. It gets hard fairly quick. So, yeah, and if you haven't checked out Essex Retro Gamer, go over and have a look and you'll see his stream of Project Gotham Racing 4. It's a fantastic game. It's one I really enjoy. So, yeah, that had to be in my list. Right, then we've got Need for Speed Underground on the PS2. Again, another great game. Kind of reminds you of arcade racers, but it's in another way it's different as well. It's a bit hard to explain. It comes across like an arcade racer, but of course this is a game where you can modify your cars. And this was one of the first games to do this. It pretty much sort of took lead, I think, from Fast and the Furious. The neon lights under the car, the decals on the side, you can change the tyres, the wheels, you can adjust everything on it so that your car is at its highest spec. It runs how you want. It's as fast as you want it. It's customizable. Of course, after that, it led on. They did a second one, and then they went off into different directions with it. But all the way through from that point onwards, you could customize. So this was one of the first games to do it. Certainly the first game in the Need for Speed franchise to do it. And so it's a good game, and it's one of my favourites. I go back to it constantly. So yeah, that had to make my list. Right, then we move on to Burnout on the PS2. Now, there are many different versions of Burnout. I've put the first one, and the reason I've put that is because it is the first one. And it's a different style of racer. Again, reminds you a lot of arcade style racers. It's very different to other racing games though, because the whole point of it is it's high speed racing, only you're not just racing against each other. You've got to avoid cars coming the other way. It's basically done in public areas, if you like. Some of these games are just like racing on tracks. This isn't. Like, one of the levels that I used to find the most challenging on Burnout was the one where you're racing down a freeway, and you know you've got cars coming at you from all over the place, and you've got to avoid them, because the minute you hit them, that's it, you're done. So, and it's very challenging because you're hacking it along, racing against the the AI, and all of a sudden this car will just come out of nowhere and completely total your car. So it's challenging. It's also quite frustrating, but it's a very good game. It's still fun to play. Although I will, after about half an hour, get the ump and probably put the controller down, I will keep going back to it. So it is a good game, and it was very different for its time. So yeah, it had to be on my list. Right, then we move on to something a bit newer. Ride 2 on the PS4. Right, so this is a motorbike racing game. Now, obviously, it's the second one in the franchise. There are 3 of them. However, the first one's a little bit more basic to Ride 2. Ride 2's got some more functions. The graphics are better. It's nicer to look at. The sound is better. However, you might be thinking, well, why have you not put Ride 3 in there? Well, there's a reason for that. Ride 3 is god-awful. It's a terrible game. It's a broken game. There are issues with it. It doesn't run properly after time. It's not particularly great to look at. It's just not a very good game. Whereas Ride 2 was perfect. Myself and my boys, we all enjoy playing this game. Very challenging game. Definitely one that requires the old grey matter to work a bit harder. So it's still fun, but not fun in the way that I've mentioned in these previous games I've mentioned. It's more serious in the fact that if I remember right, you have a career mode on it, for example. So you've got to use the brain a bit more. It's not one of them ones you can switch the brain off and play. It's quite a difficult game as well. It takes some getting used to. And again, you can change your bikes and customize. So it's like I say, more in depth. But then that's what you'd expect from PS4 anyway, isn't it? As time's gone on, games have evolved more. They're more complicated. So it requires you to use your brain a bit more. So if you are just looking for a gaming session where you just want to relax and play, Ride 2 probably wouldn't be one of them games for you there, because this is one that's really requires some concentration. But a good game nonetheless. And in terms of motorbike games, we do get quite a few motorbike games, and a lot of them are very similar, but Ride 2 stands out for me. It's very different. So yeah, it's a good game. Right, okay, moving on to the next one. Now, this one is an oldie. Ridge Racer Revolution on the PS1. Now, the reason I've mentioned this one is, well, there's several reasons. Number one is nostalgia. It was one of the first PS1 games I got. It was one that I enjoyed. I played it a lot. Again, because it's an older game, not quite as complicated. It's more simple. There's less buttons because it's a PS1 game. However, it does get challenges, especially when you're racing against a black car. Man, that's hard to beat. Even going back to it now, it's not easy. I have done it, but it's not easy. But for the most part, it's another game, like I've said before, that you can kind of turn your brain off on until you reach the black car, and then you will have to concentrate because slightest mistake and he's got you. So, but the reason I've picked this one out of all of them is because I do think it is the better game because of the fact that it's less complicated. As Ridge Racer went on, it got more and more in depth, and I do get the impression it tried to copy Need for Speed in a lot of ways. You know, the customization of cars and all that. But then they also started concentrating more on cars looking exactly how they do in real life and all that sort of stuff, the graphics. Whereas back with this game, it was simpler. They weren't really trying to copy exactly what a car looked and sounded like. They weren't worried about the customization. They were just interested in doing a good arcade style game. And that's why I prefer Ridge Racer Revolution. It's an old game, but it's still a good one. Right, okay. Next one. Now, this one, I imagine this will be on most people's list because, to be honest, it'd be a crime if it wasn't. And that is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch. Yeah. Now, I could have picked any one of the Mario Kart games because they are all good games. However, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, it's perfect, isn't it? You know, they've done such a good job. And this is the thing, you know, some games, they change things as they go along and they sort of fall by the wayside. People get bored of them. But people don't get bored with Mario Kart because they innovate all the time. You know, they keep the old, but they bring in some new, you know, and whereas other franchises just tend to change things in and out. This one, they keep the old elements, but they bring new stuff in as well. And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a good example of that. As Mario Kart's gone on, it's evolved a lot, but it still keeps what's relevant from the original ones. And that's what makes Mario Kart 8 Deluxe just a fantastic game. It is perfect. In fact, UK Crowd Gaming mentioned this in his list, and I would agree with him. You know, it is literally the pinnacle of Mario Kart so far. You know, it's like when I did my video about the best controllers, and I said in that our PlayStation had perfected their controller as they've gone on. Same applies with Mario Kart. They've perfected it as it's gone on. Now, that's not to say that the older versions aren't good, because they are still good, and I do still enjoy playing them. But if you want to play a more modern version of that game, a more up-to-date, with newer features, and bigger and larger and brighter than before, then Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is definitely one for you. Fantastic game, had to be on my list. Right, then we've got, now if you're going to mention Mario Kart, you've kind of got to mention this one too. Sonic All-Star Racing Transformed on the Xbox 360. That's what I've got it on. It is out on the PS3 as well. Again, brilliant game. And this one is very, very similar to Mario Kart 8 in the respect that they've done it like an arcade racer. And, you know, it's a good, again, that arcade sound, you know, like, ready, go, you know, that sort of sound. And then all the bright colours and all the sound effects, you know. And with this one, of course, this come out before Mario Kart 8 Deluxe did on the Switch. So some of the things they were doing, you see similar sort of things in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's where you're racing along, you're a car, then it changes to a boat, then to a glider, you know, and it basically is what it is. It transforms, which is why it's called Transformed. Brilliant game. Had to be in my list, and easily a contender for Mario Kart, and in some ways better than Mario Kart. And I've heard quite a few people actually say this in the community. It is a very good racer, very good game. And if you haven't checked it out, it's definitely one you should have a look at, especially if you've got a PS3 or an Xbox 360, because they're the consoles it's out on. Right, okay, so then we move on to the next one. Splashdown on the PS2. Now, you should have expected this to be on my list, because recently I did a video where I recommended 3 games, and I recommended 3 lesser known games. And basically this was one of them. Again, another arcade style racer, definitely one you can turn your brain off on. And it's different because it's not motorbikes, it's not cars, it's jet skis. And you can pick this game up fairly quick. It's challenging to start with, but then once you start getting into the flow of it, you will get the hang of it. And again, it's similar to Pure in the respect that when you go off jumps, you can do little tricks. And, you know, it's very simple. You know, you just got to try and get to the front. You know, it's not complicated. Of course, the thing that makes this game different is because it's a jet ski, so the mechanics are obviously different. It's not like you can just slam the brakes on like you can a car. You're on water. So it does make it a little bit more challenging in that respect, because you've got to make sure you're not hammering it too much as you come to a corner. Otherwise, you'll just go flying off the, you know, off the side of the track, and you're miles behind. Everyone overtakes you. So it's very different, but it's fun. It is fun. This is a perfect game. If you're looking to unwind for a bit, you've had a bad day at work, put this game on. Because the minute you put it on and you have a go, you're going to forget about all that rubbish you've had at work all day. And you're just going to enjoy yourself. And you're going to relax. Because it's a great game. Anybody who hasn't checked it out, you've got to check this out. And of course, this game was made by Atari as well. So if you wasn't aware of Splashdown, and you could argue that Atari are not always known for brilliant games. They have done some belters, but they have also done some really bad ones. This is not one of them. Splashdown is a good game. And in terms of jet ski riders, and I've played a few, this one's the better one. There is one called Jet Ski Riders. Do not get that, because that is terrible. So I had it. It's rubbish. Splashdown is the best one I've played out of them sort of games. Definitely pick it up if you haven't already, if you've got a PS2. I don't know if it's available on Xbox, but it is definitely on the PS2 because I've got it. Right, okay, and then my last one. And this one is an oldie. Super Hang-On the Mega Drive. Can't get much more simpler than this, can you? You know, it's a Mega Drive game. Brilliant sound, brilliant graphics. You know, it's fairly simple. And of course, it was an arcade racer. That's where it started. And the Mega Drive version did a very good job with this game. I mean, I'd also argue the Amiga version was good as well. I did enjoy the Amiga version. But the sprites are bigger on the Mega Drive. When you played it on the Amiga, the bike and the rider was a little bit smaller. But the sound was better, I would say, on the Amiga. Because we know the Amiga had a very good sound chip. So it's the Mega Drive version is the version I play. I don't have an Amiga. If I did though, I probably would play it on that. But it is a very good game. It's not complicated, you know, you've just got to get through the checkpoints. However, it is hard. It is challenging. Even to this day, it's still a hard game. And there are many times that I'll be sitting there playing it and you're going around a corner and you hit a tree and it flings you off the bike. And you'll be raging. You know, no matter how many times you've played this game, you can still make mistakes. And it's still just as annoying now as it was back then. But it's a game that I keep going back to. It's a classic. It's a very good game. It had to be in my list. Now, I would have put Outrun in here. But to be honest with you, the best version of Outrun is the arcade version. And the Master System version's all right, but I don't have a Master System. I can only play it on the EverDrive. So I thought, well, I'm going to mention games I've actually got, you know, physical. So hence the reason why I haven't mentioned Outrun, but it's definitely an honourable mention. Very good on the Master System. If you ever played it on the C64, it was god-awful. The Amiga version, if I remember right, was pretty good as well. But yeah, that's why I didn't mention it on my list. A lot of people probably will put it on there. Anyway, that's my top 10. I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. And if you have, please like, share and subscribe. And also hit that notification bell. And when you do, click all so that you're made aware of all our future videos. It will send you a nice little notification every time we upload. Also comment, because it'll be interesting to find out if you haven't got a channel, what your choices would be. Also, I'm going to link Yorkshire Man 66 original community challenge video in the description below. And before I do my usuals, I'm just going to say, if you're not aware, I'm part of the Unofficial Anbernic Facebook group, which will be changing its name soon, so it will be called something else. But if you're into your emulation, head on over there, join the group. There's a great team, and there's a great bunch of people on there. We've got a real community going on there. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff, get yourself over there, and you can have a good bit of banter with the rest of the guys and girls. And also, I'm going to mention about the Nerdy Geezer Facebook group. Now, you may be aware that before we had a page, and I've recently changed that to a group because I wanted to have a group so that people could share their videos or their posts on it, which you couldn't do on the page. So if you are already part of the page, go over to the group and join there, because at some point I'm going to get rid of the page. And if you're not already a part of it, come along guys, join the group. You know, there's other content creators sharing their videos on there as well as ours. So, you know, there's plenty there to sink your teeth into. And you never know, you might find someone on there that you didn't know had a channel. So, you know, it's worth getting yourself on there, join the group. And every now and again, you'll see posts come up as well, like funny memes, etc. as well. So it's just, you know, it's just a little bit more inclusive. Right, so all there is left to say is take care, stay safe, Nerdy Geezer out.